Pocketbook, where each Saturday we take 10 of a plethora of old records that she gave to me, and we listen to them, check them out, and see what the youth and young adults of yesteryear were into, what the streets were talking about, what was hot in the streets, and it gives you a little peek inside what might have been in mommy's pocketbook. Because if you ever get a chance to look inside a woman's pocketbook, you can find out so much about that woman. So this is a kind of our little figurative peek inside of mommy's pocketbook via the styles of music that she was listening to. So we have 10, and we're going to go ahead and get it started right now. I am Zombie, just in case anybody was wondering, who is this host? Is her name Zombie to the Rhythm? No, it's just plain Zombie was taken. So Zombie to the Rhythm, like Slave to the Rhythm, which also has go-go influence. And go-go from DC, so I try to represent it full circle. Anyway, Zombie. I'm Zombie, and we're going to get started with our first, which is, wait, I have to get my learning material for this. My instructional thing, because our first album of this episode of our 10 that we selected is from the Supremes. So just gotta give you a little rundown, because there was started off with Diana Ross, Mary Wilson, Cindy Birdsong, but then 1,000 other people ended up being in the band and then out of the band, out of the group. Throughout the course of the year, someone would leave and someone would come. So this came out in 1966. This was pressed in 1966. Of course, it hit the charts. It charted in 67. So in 67, they had just gone through their first transition. Like I said, it started off with Diana Ross, Mary Wilson, and Cindy Birdsong. But you can see on the next line that Florence Ballard was the first one there. And then, allegedly, she was drinking and missing performances, so they had to change her out for Cindy Birdsong. So that became the lineup for that year. And they also had another member before that people don't even talk about, and that's Barbara Martin. So, anyway, without further ado, the first song of our 10 is going to be from the Supremes. You know them. I don't have to give you a whole bunch of background about them. They have a plethora of hits, including Baby Love. In 1964 alone, they had 3. Baby Love, Come See About Me, and Where Did Our Love Go? That's 3 #1 Billboard hits in 1 year. And then they had a couple more the following year, 1965, as a result of their awesome angelic voices and their hitmaker team of producers and songwriters, Holland, Dozier, and Holland. That's Brian Holland, Lamont Dozier, and Edward Holland Jr. That was their powerhouse Motown writing team for a whole bunch of people, but definitely for the Supremes. They were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1988. So we're going to listen to the A-side. It's called Love Is Here and Now You're Gone. What are we going to do about that? Oop, 1 second. 1 second. I'll be tripping. See, I could place the blame on technology. And I should, because technology has been finding ways to fail me all day. But human error on this one. Got to make sure we got that sound right. Anyway, love is here and now you're gone.
Love is here, and oh my darling, now you're gone. Love is here, and oh my darling, now you're gone. You persuaded me to love you, and I did, but instead of tender to your heart and in turn keep lots of love away from me. Love is
All right.
oh my darling,
That was a weird little breakdown. Anyway, Love Is Here and Now You're Gone. The Supremes featuring Diana Ross, Mary Wilson, and Cindy Birdsong at the time. Written and produced and arranged and all that by the powerhouse Motown producing and songwriting team of Holland Dozier Holland. They themselves were inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1990. They also had their own labels: HDH, Hot Wax, Invictus, who you might have heard on this show, who played Frida Payne, who was the sister of Sharia Payne, who was once a Supreme. She was on that label. That was Holland Dozier Hall. And they also worked on a lot of spin-offs for different artists. They also had their Music Merchant label and Shantytown. They ended up splitting from Motown over unplayed royalties. And so they took their talents to the masses. Ended up, they've probably written well over 1,000 hit songs for Motown and the industry in and of itself. But so that they could keep Mr. Gordy Jr.'s hands off of their money, what they did was they started recording under the name Edith Wayne. Or also Edie the Craighead and Stagecoach Productions. So if you see those things on different albums, just know that is still the powerhouse team of Holland Dozier Holland. All right. Love Is Here and Now You're Gone. Did I mention that on February 4th, 1967, that song went on Billboard, stayed on Billboard charts for 10 weeks, and peaked at number 1 for a week on February 4th, 1967. And it was a number 1 R&B hit for 2 weeks. Boom. We're going to listen to the B-side. It's called There's No Stopping Us Now. Once again, still produced and written and arranged by the powerhouse team of Holland Dozier Holland. In case you're wondering, where else do I know Holland Dozier Holland? You know them for Heat Wave, Martha and the Vandellas, and also Nowhere to Run. Yep, that. And Can I Get a Witness, Marvin Gaye, and like a plethora of other songs. Baby I Need Your Lovin' by Four Tops. So many. But this, of course, was done under the Motown umbrella, which you know about Motown, founded in 1959 by Berry Gordy Jr. It's one of the most influential. Did I say that right? I'm really tired. I'm sorry. One of the most influential independent record companies. I'm gonna get it together. One of the most influential independent record companies ever. I mean, they crafted their own sound for this music that was coming out. The Motown sound. It was the home of the Four Tops. It was the home of Stevie Wonder, Jackson 5, Rick James, Isley Brothers, DeBarge, so much more. Gordy ended up selling ownership in Motown to Boston Ventures in June of 1988. They were being distributed by MCA. In 1994, they went to Polygram and then part of Capitol Music Group. Today, they are part of Universal Music Group.
Now we're in each other's arms. Nothing can do us harm. Nothing can shake us. Nothing can break us. We'll be together forever and ever. There's no stopping us now. This love is here to stay. There's no stopping us now. Together we found a way. Never again shall foolish pride keep us apart.
was nice. That was nice. It was the Supremes. And it was Holland Dozier Holland. What else could it have been other than nice? Let's get into our second of our 10 that we've chosen this week to review. It is coming from the Dells. Let me get my notes together. So the Dells are an R&B group from Harvey, Illinois. It started off with Johnny Carter, Marvin Jr., Vern Allison, Mickey McGill, Chuck Barksdale. Johnny Carter was formerly of the Flamingos. They performed over 5 decades. Like, they were still performing in the 2010s. So, okay, put some respect on their name. The Mighty Dells. That's what they call them now. The Mighty Dells. Anyway, and they've sold millions of records. People call them the Mighty Dells. They originally started in 1952 when they were high school friends. And they were originally calling themselves the El Rays. So if you know a little bit about music back then and you heard of some El Rays, know that that was the Dells before they came into their own and changed their name to the Dells. They did a song for a record label called Chess, which didn't really get much attention, and ended up getting contract with VJ Records, and that's when they presented themselves as the Dells, and they released a song called Oh What a Night in 1955, which became, an immediate success. So in the early 60s, they were opening and touring for the likes of Dinah Washington, Ray Charles, but by the late 60s, early 70s, they had several R&B and pop charting hits, including Stay in My Corner from 1968, which was number 10 on the charts, and Give Your Baby a Standing Ovation, which didn't come out until the 70s, but was still big on the charts. So we're going to get into I Wish It Was Me You Loved, okay? What did I tell you before? If they're going to do anything back in the day, these R&B and soul musicians, they're going to give you a title that has, like, punctuation and stuff. I'm surprised there's no parentheses. Anyway, this is The Mighty Dells with I Wish It Was Me You Loved.
It's been this way since you don't know me. There are a lot of places a woman like you could go and see. Why your man won't take you, it's a mystery to me. Oh, I wish it was me you love. Baby, I wish it was me you love. Honest to God, you're such a pretty thing. All locked up in the crib by yourself.
So this is written by Jackie Avery, R&B singer, songwriter, and producer, who was also husband of the singer Ella Brown. It's arranged by Wade Marcus, who was he used to play trumpet for Lionel Hampton's orchestra. I'm sorry, not trumpet, trombone in his early years, but then he started working for Motown, and he was arranging a whole bunch of records for them. that they had done a song for Chess Records, which didn't get very much attention. They released this on Cadet Records, which was a subsidiary label of Chess, which was originally called Argo. But of course, they had to change the name to Cadet in 1965 because there was an Argo record label in England, so they didn't want anything to be confused. So in January 1969, the Chess label and its sub-labels were bought by GRT, but in the late 1970s, it went down. The label went down and ended up being bought by Sylvia Robinson's all-platinum record group, which, became Sugar Hill Records in 1979. So, there you have it in that order.
Across an empty table and look at your empty chair. She has the time. Pour a cup of coffee, put more butter on my toast, and try to find a better match. Tied to her. Last week you said let's get married. Oh, living with me ain't your thing. You left and you told me I better take you over. You ain't coming back until I get your
I don't know. He said something, you're gonna leave unless I get you a ring, but it's better than two than one. So what does that mean? You just go string a person along because they'd rather be with you than by yourself? I don't know. Anyway, written by Jimmy Roach, soul R&B pop singer, songwriter, producer, who also worked with the OJs, the Manhattans, the Shy-Lights, Smokey Robinson, and so many more. Both of these songs were arranged and produced. Well, not arranged and produced, but produced by Don Davis and Groovesville Music. If you know anything about Groovesville Music, that's Don Davis's recording and publishing company. Don Davis was a studio musician for Motown, Golden World, and Rick-Tick Records. He became a key figure in, in Stax. So you see how Stax and Motown kind of are like at that same level, but different artists. So he ended up becoming a key figure at Stax, and one of his first hits was "Who's Making Love" by Johnny Taylor, and the other B-side to that was "Trying," which is still a good song, which is number 1 in 1968. So. Yeah. And another fun fact about the Dells is that in 1991, Robert Townsend's movie about our favorite R&B soul group that isn't really a real R&B soul group, The Five Heartbeats. The movie The Five Heartbeats was based on the lives and careers of the Dells, and they were consultants for that. They went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2004, and they were still touring up to the 2010s, like I said before. Ladies and gentlemen, the Mighty Dells. What that is? Oh no, that's just the way the album stops. Fades off and then it goes sometimes. Anyway, number 3 is AWB. Can you guess what those letters stand for, children? Yes! You're so smart. It's the Average White Band. An R&B soul group, but from Scotland. Alan Gorey, Ani McIntyre, Hamish Stewart, Malcolm Duncan, Roger Ball, Robbie McIntosh, before he was replaced with Steve Ferrone, who ended up being the only black member of Average White Band. Yeah, that's what was happening. We had a soul R&B group coming out of Scotland. So their horn section started off as the Dundee horns, and you can hear them on Johnny Nash's reggae hit, I Can See Clearly Now. They had a little help kind of like boosting their name out in the streets with Eric Clapton and Bonnie Bramlett of that at that time of Delaney and Bonnie. And they helped them kind of on their way to becoming a household name, but it wasn't until they hit the States and got seen by Jerry Wexler that they got signed on the spot to Atlantic Records. And the incomparable Turkish American producer Arif Mardin was on their side. So, that was like super, super, super dope for them. Because Arif has 11 Grammys. He's worked with Aretha Franklin, Donny Hathaway, Hall & Oates, Barbra Streisand, Norah Jones, Bee Gees, Phil Collins, David Bowie, everybody. And he's really good with his strings and all that stuff. So, and his horn placements and things like that. So, if Arif's working with you, you're in good hands. We're going to listen to A Love of Your Own, which you definitely know, because it's been covered by several people in the industry. The horn and string section was arranged by Roger Ball on this, who was a Scottish pianist, saxophonist, and songwriter, and written by Stuart Doheny, and that's Stuart was a soul singer, songwriter, bass player, and Doheny was another singer songwriter. So, A Love of Your Own, Average White Band. for all times. If ever that comes on, you better get your two-step on or your slow drag on, because that's exactly what it's there for. Like I said, that was written by Hamish Stewart, who was also a guitarist, and they all shared vocals. He was also a guitarist for the band. We're gonna listen to the other side. It's called Soul Searching. I'm sure that's just as dope because they bring the soul, they bring the funk. Yeah. I'm just gonna leave it at that. The other side is called Soul Searching. It is also written by two of the band members, Alan Gorey and Hamish Stewart. And you know this because it's been sampled so many times. In the Go-Go. There's a band that uses that beginning of that song to take their break. Anytime you hear that, you know the band's get ready to take 10 for 10, 9 for 1. Love it. Funky. Also known as the Average White Band, definitely anything other than average. All of their 70s albums either reached gold or platinum. So, you probably know them for several other songs. Like, you don't even know the names, but you know them. Pick Up the Pieces, Cut the Cake. Pick Up the Pieces, number 1 in 1974. Cut the Cake, number 10 in 1975. Signed on the spot by Jerry Wexler to the Atlantic record label. Top tier list of talent on an Atlantic. They ended up being purchased by Warner 7 Arts in 1967. Yada, yada, yada. They remain under Warner Music Group to this day. So if you're looking for that cut and you can't have mine, you gotta holler at Warner Music Group for that. That was Average Right Band. Number 4 of our 10 that we choose. And I gotta be a little bit careful. This one's a little ashy, so let's hope it plays pretty okay. But, no, I'm just joking. Anyway, it's by an artist called Danny White. Danny White is from New Orleans. And it was said he had like a signature kind of raw New Orleans sound to his voice or a vocal style, but they said that also might have been why he got a little bit of local chart success. He didn't have as much wider appeal. But let's check him out and see what's going on. Got a record deal, didn't he? Can't be that bad.
don't want every woman that I see. There's just one important thing to me. Keeping you, baby, believe it's true, because I'm dedicating my life to you. The footsteps you hear will be mine. I'll be rushing home to you every time. Just leave the porch light on. I won't go alone. I'm dedicating my life to you. I'll cover you in kisses, just to let you know. With you I'll do everything, and I want nothing more. Look in my eyes, tell me what do you see? You see love, 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 love. It is, baby. Do what you want, do what you want to. I'm placing all, yes sir, my faith in you. I'm gonna keep on, I'll never get through. I'm dedicating my life. Say it one more time. I'm dedicating my life. Say it again right now.
Dedicating my life. That's Danny White from New Orleans. This was released on Atlas Records. And one thing about Atlas Records is it was founded and operated by a black man, which was unheard of in those days, okay? And it was one of the first culturally significant record labels to do so. It was based out of Harlem, 125th Street. Let's listen to the other side. Keep My Woman Home. And in case you're wondering why that was such an awesome sounding song, it's because he had great producers behind him, songwriting team of Hayes and Porter. You might know them as Isaac Hayes and David Porter, who were a songwriting duo that was pretty much shapers of the Memphis sound for Stax. And they were also labeled musicians. And then it was also co-written by Cropper, who was a guitarist, but also a songwriter, arranger, producer. He was founding member of the Marquis and also a founding member of Booker T and the MGs. He also functioned as an A&R manager, musician, and sometimes artist or engineer, production, and songwriter. And you probably know him also for co-writing songs like Knock on Wood, The Dock of the Bay, and In the Midnight Hour. Let's listen to the other side. It's called Keep My Woman Home. Also written by the Stax Power Memphis sound duo of Isaac Hayes and David Porter.
Wasting time with the bug is all the thing.
operated Atlas Records, which only was around from 1951 to like the early 1970s. And it kind of folded after that. Coming up next, we're going to do some youngins. At least they were youngins then. Pretty old record. I don't know if you see the little spots or whatever. It's just supposed to be red and black, not red, black, and white. Those are other little wear and tear on it. But that's fine. This is the Mad Lads. Have you heard? Brought to you on Volt Records, which you know is a subsidiary of Stax. They were still in high school when they were signed to Stax in late 1964. Doo-wop influence. Recorded a few R&B hits. Never really reached the pop audience. Then, two of the members were drafted. And when they came back, the other two original members didn't know if they really wanted to rock with them. But, label owner, co-owner Jim Stewart, who the S and the T in Stax is represented for, kind of forced the reinstatement. But their doo-wop sound was kind of, compromised and had become more soulful and more funkified, if you will. They did return to the R&B Top 30 in 1968 with a song called Whatever Hurts You. Today, we are about to listen to Patch My Heart, and on the other side, we're going to listen to You Mean So Much to Me. It's the Mad Lads. For that key change. I wasn't ready. I know you hear that sample in there. It's been sampled a couple times in the game. In the pop field too. That's called Patch My Heart. And if you're wondering why it's so awesome and groovy, it's because the same team that just brought you Kenny White on Atlas also brought you the Mad Libs on Volt. And it is Isaac Hayes and Steve Cropper. Remember, Isaac Hayes was a house songwriter for Stax, and Volt is a subsidiary of the Stax record label. Of course, you know Isaac Hayes for the soundtrack to Shaft, the theme for Shaft in particular. And I mean, even more recently, before he passed, he was the voice of Shaft on South Park, on Comedy Central for forever, since the show was in its beginnings. And Steve Cropper, of course, the founder of the Marquis and the Booker T and the MGs, and co-writer of Knock on Wood, at the Dock of the Bay, and In the Midnight Hour. That was nice. We're going to listen to the B-side, not written by Isaac Hayes and Steve Cropper, but it's still good, and I'll tell you why. Momentarily. It's called You Mean So Much to
Me. When I was down and out, you talked to me and made me see my way. You gave me love when all my dreams just left and walked away. Oh well.
Just True Me was written by Deanie Parker, William Deanie Parker, who started in 1963 working for Stax as a record, Stax record label as a singer-songwriter, later director of publicity, artists, and community relations. Currently, Flowers. Currently, she's the president and CEO of the Soulsville Museum in Memphis and a member of the board of the Rock and Soul Museum, Play It Again, and the Tennessee Arts Commission. So she's been a mover and shaker in the industry for years. And her name's going to come up again with another artist, too, that I'm going to play. And so this is co-written by several members of the group, John Williams, Julius Green, and Quincy Phillips, and William Brown, who are members of the Mad Lads. Like I said, this was put out here on Volt, subsidiary label of Stax. Started as Satellite Records by Jim Stewart and his sister Estelle Axton. They took the first two letters of their name, ST and AX, and that's how they came up with the name Stax, which they changed Satellite Records to that name in June of 1977. No, and after like a year or so after they had founded Satellite, in June of 77, about a year and a half after they'd gone bankrupt, their masters were purchased by Fantasy Incorporated. So, yeah. Nice. And we are moving along. We are already on number 6 of our 10 chosen records. You know, usually it's like been an hour and a half by the time that happens. But we rolling. That's all I'm going to say. Next, we have another, I'm not going to say unknown, but maybe a little obscure to many people. The artist is called Wendy Renee. Again, it's on Stax. Different label, but you know. It's got a stack of records right there. Then it says STAX. Record's a little worn, but hey, you know. The wax still spins, though. Okay. Anyway, don't mind me. I'm silly. You know how people get silly when they're like sleepy. You know how babies, they start getting, and kids, they start acting silly and goofy when they're sleepy. I'm sleepy. So, yeah. Don't ask why. I don't know. Just need more rest. Once a part of the group, the Drapels, until she was singled out to be put on solo by Stax executives. They were like, this one right here, she has the juice. Oh. Let's try this again. It jumped from the edge of the record all the way to the middle, so we're just going to go with it. Her voice is, right? Her name was Mary Frierson. She was given the name Wendy Renee by Deanie Parker. And she was put out in front of the members of the group. You know, they released a couple of things as the Drapels, but then they started seeing that it was kind of going a solo way, and so one of the members went off to college, and then another member, who was her brother, and another member, Marianne Brittenward, began focusing more on songwriting, although Stax used them uncredited on Wendy's sessions. So, it's said that Wendy Renee was Michael Jackson before Michael Jackson, and you can see how high her voice is right there. That might be why they said that, because this came out in 1964. Jackson 5 didn't even start until 1968, so the shade of it all. Anyway, that song was written by Brown, who was a bass player, Steve Cropper, again, who was writing those other songs of the Mad Labs. I said the Mad Labs. The Mad Lads, and Danny White, you know, founding member of the Marquis, and also founding member of the Booker T and the MGs, and co-writer of in the midnight hour on the dock of the bay, and knock on wood. All super, super, super bangers. We're gonna listen to the other side. It's called Young and Foolish. One thing I had to be careful on this one is this album has a split in it. So if the needle doesn't get through the split, it ain't gonna work out for us. So let's check it out and see if we make it. I think we might make it. Yeah, this is called Young and Foolish. Now, although it's written by Frierson, one can't be sure if that's Frierson as in Marie Frierson herself, or Frierson, the brother, because like I said, they focused, the brother and the other partner from the group focused on songwriting, but they didn't get credit on Wendy Renee's music. But yeah, I think maybe this one was written by Wendy Renee herself, Marie Frierson. Like I said, this was on Stax record label. We just talked about Stax. Stax has had more than 150 top 100 chart hits, more than 240 R&B top 100 chart hits. They also brought you music from Rufus, Otis Redding, Isaac Hayes, of course, and The Emotions, and a plethora of others.
Too much time to wait on. I thought I had to do what must be done. Now, I found the one that I love to pretend he loved me. I need that same boy. Give me and hug me. What a young and foolish girl who couldn't wait on our real love. I should have known it takes two to feel love. Not after looking back in that same diary and reading about the little girl that I used to be, young and foolish. Oh, 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 oh. Oh, 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 oh. Now I was such a young girl, a full of fun girl.
Young and Foolish. That was Wendy Renee. And we're heading on over to our 7th of our 10 chosen records of this week's Mommy's Pocketbook. Let's see. What were the streets listening to back in the day? What was the vibe? Coming up, we're about to find out what the vibe was from the Masqueraders, who started off, another group of youngers. They started off in 1958, but they were middle schoolers then. It was, and this is in Dallas, Texas. It was Charlie Moore on lead vocals, Robert Tex Reitzel, who was the first tenor, and brothers Johnny and Lawrence Davis, second and third tenors, and little Charlie Gibson, who was bass. They had formed a group called the Stairs, which is kind of funny. But, there was also the Stair Steps, so it makes sense. Anyway, they recorded a couple songs for a local label called Southtown, and then they started doing a little bit of, touring, getting some notoriety all around Texas. But, this is times of war, so the Davis Bros left and enlisted in the Army. And so the rest of the Masqueraders, well, the Stairs, at that time had to scramble to find replacements. And so Charlie Moore, who was on lead vocals, ended up moving into the baritone. And they added Lee Wesley Jones and made him the lead on lead vocals. And then Harold Thomas took over tenor, and David Sanders was their bass. And then they started, they were touring through Texas, and they were touring into Motown and, different record labels to do auditions, because, that was something you did heavily back then. And as they were touring some of these towns, they often appeared kind of under the guise of some of the national charting acts. So they were easily able to emulate their style. And, so it was only fitting that they changed their name to the Masqueraders, because they were kind of masquerading like similar to the styles of other groups. Now, Isaac Hayes is prevalent throughout today's rotation. It's weird because I pulled a couple from here. I was like, I'm not going to look. I'm going to take like 2 from here, 3 from here, 1 from here, 2 from here. And Isaac Hayes is like the glue for all of them. Anyway, so Isaac Hayes is the glue because this was released on HBS-ABC Records. HBS stands for Hot Buttered Soul Records. And if you know anything about Isaac Hayes, you know that was the name of his first album, Hot Buttered Soul. And that is what he calls his boutique label while he was assigned to ABC. Because remember, after Stax had folded and went bankrupt, he had to go somewhere. So he went to ABC and had this label, Hot Buttered Soul, named after his first album in 1969. His first album on Hot Buttered Soul was Chocolate Chip, which was a best-selling R&B chart hit. But then he ended up leaving ABC for Polydor in 1977. His own song, a duet with Dionne Warwick, and this work from the Masqueraders were the only things really ever released on Hot Buttered Soul. So, you are in for a treat. This is called Call Me the Traveling Man. Produced and arranged by Mr. Isaac Hayes. Both this and the B-side song. But it was written by the Raiders themselves.
I'll be a better man with a better plan. Hey, I've made up my mind.
Just FYI, they had grown up a little bit by now, so I know you're like, this doesn't sound like no middle schoolers. Oh yeah, they had been doing the touring and stuff for a while before they got the Hot Buttered Soul ABC record. That would have been like, wow, middle schoolers were old.
Just call me the traveling man. I'm gonna take the world by the hand. Check it out if I can. Just call me the traveling man. Yes, I'm gonna find out what it's all about. What it's all about. Hey, I want you to see. Want you to see. I've got to be free. To do the best I can for you and me. You and me. And our family. Hey, I'm going away today. Gonna search high and low for a better way. I'll write you every day. And here's what I'll say. So call me the traveling man. Yes, I'm gonna find out what it's all about. What it's all about. It just
That's really, really nice and soothing. Call Me the Traveling Man by the Masqueraders out of Dallas, Texas. Got together when they were just middle schoolers. Let's listen to the other side. It's going to be the B side, of course, and it's called Sweet Sweetening. Again, written by the members of the group and produced and arranged by Isaac Hayes. Okay, I like this groove. This is very, I want to do like some two-step shuffling.
She's one in a million. This little girl of mine. I searched the whole world, but no one could I find. She's so little and she's so kind. My number one lady. There's more than kind. More than the stars in the night. More than the rain to the trees. More than the heaven to the earth. Can't you see my sweet
They named themselves the Masqueraders after the idea that they were able to like kind of masquerade themselves as better known charting soul and R&B groups in their small towns that they tour around to. I was just sitting here trying to think who did they seem like they might have sounded like right there. I couldn't really pinpoint it, but yeah. The Masqueraders, whoever you were masquerading yourself as at that point right there, you did a good job. Moving on to the number 8, we are like cruising. I'm like, we're not really cruising. We are flying through our 10 records from Mommy's Pocketbook this evening. We're on number 8 right now, and it's coming from a group we heard before, and a group you've heard of for like, unless you're like 10 or 12, you've heard of this group your entire life. It's Gladys Knight and the Pips, okay? R&B family group from Atlanta. Gladys, her brother Bubba, Gerald Bubba Knight, her cousins William Guest and Edward Patton. I wonder if he's related to Andre Patton. Anyway, big boy from Outkast. Yeah. Anyway, named Pips for their manager, James Pip Woods. Still doesn't really give me a background on what a Pip is, but okay. They were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1996. We're going to listen to one of their big old hits. It's called I Heard It Through the Grapevine. And I forgot to put the chart information, so let me collect it real quick, like. Because, you know, we want to know these things. You know what I mean? We know it's a banger, but you want to know how much of a banger it was. It was number 2. It was on Billboard charts for 14 weeks. Peaked at number 2. Stayed there for 3 weeks, and that was in 1967. Not to be confused with Marvin Gaye's I Heard It Through the Grapevine, which was recorded first, but theirs was released first. One-upmanship. Gaye's wasn't released until 1968, but we still love both of them. Anyway, without further ado, here's Gladys Knight and the Pips with I Heard It Through the Grapevine. Released on Soul Records. Again, subsidiary of Berry Gordy Jr.'s Motown label.
If you're wondering how I knew, baby, about some friends to make me blue. With some other girl you knew before. Between the two of us, girls, you know I love you more. It took me by surprise, I must say. When I found out yesterday, don't you know that I heard it through the grapevine? I heard it through the grapevine. How much longer would you be mine? Much longer would you be mine? I know that I heard it through the grapevine. I heard it through the grapevine. And I'm just about to lose my mind. Oh, yes, I am. Oh, yes, I am. Oh, yes, I am. Babe, I want to listen to you. So I think it's good to these tears of mine. Baby, these tears I can't hold outside. Losing you, but in my life to see. Because you mean that much to me. You could told me yourself that you love somebody. Instead, I heard it through the grapevine. Oh, how much longer would you be mine?
Yes, you know, you'll be hard pressed to find another voice similar to that of the one Gladys Knight, which is why when she was on The Masked Singer and people didn't know it was her, I was just like, do you not know what Gladys Knight sounds like? Someone said Anita Baker. Are you kidding? Are you joking? Are you being funny? Anyway, got her start as a child. Her first big break came when she appeared on a television show called Ted Mack's Original Amateur Hour and won. And she was 7 years old at the time. So she's been in the game for a long time. Give her flowers. She's even got industry things going. Remember Gladys Knight Waffle House? I never got to go when they had one in the DC metro area, but I heard it was delicious. And she's still touring. You can go on her site right now and get tickets to her show. Please give her flowers while she is still here. Let's listen to the B-side of this Gladys Knight and the Pips. It's called It's Time to Go Now. Both this song and the I Heard It Through the Grapevine were written by the prolific writing duo of Whitfield and Strong, who were contributors to various artists involved with various Motown labels. Because there were a couple. Soul, which was formed in 1964 by Berry Gordy Jr. as an outlet for the harder-edged even tinged R&B music, which had started, which had started to manifest itself. Because remember when he first started in '52, it was more about that doo-wop sound. So as things started getting real smooth and rah, for the time, he was like, I need another place where I can put those artists. So it really was kind of like that. And it never was really intended to be, or it never was really considered one of the most prestigious of the Motown imprints. For that you had Tamla, Motown, and then Gordy. Soul kind of was secondary to that, but it proved to be so vital. Hello, Gladys Knight and the Pips. The first release was Devil with the Blue Dress by Shorty Long in March 1964. And it went on to be one of Motown's longest lived imprints, closing in 1973 with the emergence of the disco heyday. So represented, even though it was kind of like a back burner type of record label. Anyway, Gladys Knight and the Pips, this is It's Time to Go Now. Also written by Whitfield Strong, writing duo. And once again, make sure you respect those who have come before you in this game, especially when they still here. You seen her on verses with Patty and Dion with the hair fierce, okay, and could still hit the notes. You could never, your fave could never. Giving her flowers. Your fave could never. Gladys Knight, the Pips. Alright, let's go to our number 9. 9 is, oh! I need like an in-house horn for whenever I have a DC artist. Because this group is called Choice 4, and they're from DC. I got my DC shirt on. Go, long live go, because that go music is the official music of DC. So let's put some respect on our name, and put some respect on Go-Go's name. Anyway, the Choice 4 was a soul group from DC, consisted of Bobby Hamilton on the lead, Ted Maduro and Pete Marshall, formerly of the Love Tones, and Charles Bagmore, who was formerly of the Stridells. They had some names in these bands back then. Anyway, they had some nice ballads, but they never really saw that much in the way of breakout hits on the charts. But guess who was their mastermind? Another DC superstar, Van McCoy. You know him as he was he's singer, songwriter, producer, and of course the legacy of the disco anthem. Do the hustle. There's commercials right now with hustle on it. Put some respect on Van McCoy's name. Anyway, this is the Choice 4. We're going to listen to I Need Your Love to Keep Me Warm. Also written and arranged and produced by one Van McCoy.
But the man said it's gonna snow tonight, and that's just a bed. Winter's winds are gonna blow tonight. If I sleep in it, I've got an overcoat warm at for my head. Yeah, and when the winter wind starts to blow, catch me sneezing. Got a pair of boots and fur gloves for my hands. Yeah, and I'm burning up on the outside. La 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 la. I'm freezing. Wish you were here with me. I need your love to keep me warm. Wish you were here with me. I need your love to keep me warm. Well, the man said it's gonna snow tonight. Unless you really have to go tonight, it's really gonna be a storm. I've got a fireplace, warm what's on my clothes. Yeah, and in the winter when it starts to blow, I have to dream of the blankets on my bed, burning up on the outside. But in my heart, I'm not snowman, wish you were here with me. Need your love to keep me warm. Wish you were here with me. I need your love to keep me warm. When the man said it's gonna snow tonight, oh yeah, stay home. Unless you really have to go tonight, it's really gonna be your storm. Well, the man said it's gonna snow tonight, and I'm not just today. The time is gonna go tonight, because I'm
Yes, the choice for DC Native Group, also produced by a DC Native singer-songwriter, Man McCoy. Let's listen to the other side. It's called I Can't Make You Love Me. Okay, let's get it.
Seems like the one thing that you can't have is the thing you want most of all. Cause the more
The choice for, they were on RCA, which, in case you didn't know, stands for Radio Corporation of America, which came about in 1919. They ended up getting Victor Talking Machine, which had released records on the Victor Victorola labels. So then it became RCA Victor until 1968. Then afterwards, just RCA. In 1985, they became RCA Ariola International with a joint venture with another organization. Then General Electric, GE, came along and purchased them. And in 1986, they were sold to Bertelsmann Music Group, also known as BMG. Remember, used to put like, I don't know, some of you guys don't know, you don't have the good fortune of being able to order 100 CDs for like $1, but never ever pay to the BMG CD purchasing thing. I don't know how they made money off of that. Anyway, after all those changes, if you're checking for the choice form now, you're going to have to holler at Big Daddy Sony Music Entertainment, because that is who owns that portion of the record industry right now.
so I like destiny. I can't get enough from a woman's stone. I can't make you love me. No, I can't make you love me. So girl, I guess I better leave. Well, ain't no fun alone. I can't make you love me. No, I can't make you love me. Oh, yeah. I can't get love by my heart of stone. I can't make you love me. No, I can't make you love me. So God, I guess I better leave.
So they had other hits like You're So Right For Me, Come Down to Earth, When You're Young and in Love, and Hey, What's That Dance You're Doing? I'm sorry. The long titles that songs used to have are just hilarious to me. But anyway, the choice for DC Group from back in the day. That's what was in Mommy's pocket. But Mommy was about that supporting your DC folks' life back in the day. And that's good to see. It's always good to see people support their own. Long live Go-Go. DC's official music. Go-Go. Put some respect on our name. Anyway, number 10. It's probably our most fun record for the day. Not planned on purpose, but it comes from none other than Parliament. And the funny thing is, like, I had to, like, actually check and see which one was the banger, because both of these bang to me. But, and if you from where I'm from, they both bang, and they both can be played at the cookout. So, anyway, the A-lister of the two is going to be To the Roof Off the Sucker. Give up the phone. Give up the phone. Tell you, they got some names. They could have just left they didn't have to put the parentheses, but I need you to know. The song is about giving up the funk, but it's called To the Roof Off the Sucker. Alright? George Clinton founded a doo-wop group in Newark, New Jersey. He called them the Parliaments, right? And eventually they started singing a little more soulfully, so they kind of morphed into the times. You know, Clinton himself was a producer, singer, songwriter, and also the lead of the group, with Raymond Davis and Calvin Simon Clarence, Fuzzy Haskins, and Grady Thomas. But in 1968, he relocated to Detroit, added a rhythm section. You hear that, right? And formed what was called Funkadelic, with Bernie Worrell adding him also on the keys. Around that time, 1969, it's when he took the S off of Parliaments and became Parliament. By George Clinton and Bootsy Collins. You know Bootsy from Bootsy's Rubber Band, and being the prolific bass guitarist that he is. And he also used to play with the James Brown Band before this, so, you know, tidbit of information. And also Jerome Bailey, who was a drummer for Parliament. He was also a drummer with the Unifics and the Five Stair Steps, who did Ooh Child. So, yeah. Power hitters on there. Let us in. We'll turn this mother out. Okay. That's a hell of a warning. Anyway, let's listen to the B-side while I give you a little more background about the record label, because this was on Casablanca Records. Don't know if you're familiar with that. But we're going to listen to a little bit of dust. We're going to listen to the B-side, which is called P-Funk. And like I said,
Good evening.
it was called the B-side, but
there's nothing wrong.
if you know, like I know, and you from where somewhere like similar to where I'm from, either both of them songs got played at the cookout, the A-side and the B-side, depending on where you were in the day, in the function, what the vibe was in the function, or who was playing the music, or what time of day it was. But yeah,
Coming to you directly from the mothership.
another written and produced by George Clinton and Bootsy Collins, also with Bernie Worrell, who was on the keys, which is pretty prominent in this song. Released on Casablanca Records, which is a disco label in the 70s, found by Neil Bogart, and this is not disco. I think was like categorized as like future, I can't remember, like future electro funk. I don't know. It's Parliament and Funkadelic is a whole plethora of genres melted together, and it just works. Anyway, I tell you, Casablanca Records was only around for the 70s as kind of a disco label. But their biggest success of Casablanca Records is the super glam rock band Kiss. Yes, Gene Simmons, black and white makeup, long time. Yes, that was the success story of Casablanca Records. But you also have people like Donna Summer and Parliament. Of course, now it's being handled by Republic Records under Big Daddy Universal Music Group. Hey.
Yeah, I did. Let me put my sunglasses on. That's the law around here. You got to wear your sunglasses. Well, all right. Hey, I was digging on y'all funk for a while. Sound like you got a 3 on it, though, to me. You know, I was down south and I heard some funk with some main ingredients like Doobie Brothers, Blue Magic, David Bowie. It was cool. But can you imagine Doobie in your funk? Oh, W-E-F-U-N-K. We funk.
Make my funk the P-funk.
Oh.
I want my funk uncut. Oh, make my funk the P-funk. I want to get funked up.
Him.
I want the bomb. I want the P-funk.
P-funk,
I
y'all.
want my funk set down. Make my funk the P-funk.
Home of the extraterrestrial brothers.
Make my P-funk. I want my funk.
Make me funk, P-funk, y'all.
Tear the roof off, the sucker, give up the funk, and that is P-Funk right there. Brought to you by Parliament. And that is a wrap on Mommy's Pocketbook, episode 13. It's always a pleasure. It's always awesome to like look back and say, hey, what was hot back then? Because sometimes when you think of music these days, it's hard to imagine some of our artists that are out and popping right now still popping like 20, 30 years. I mean, I'm sorry, no shade, but some of you guys were not going to be listening to you in 5 or 10 years. Some of you are not going to be listened to in 2. Just the nature of the business. Especially these days, because there's so many different genres and types and so many artists available. Attention deficit, you know. As soon as somebody's popular, it's like, ooh, what's that over there? So, if you're going to hold on to your audience, you got to really have something to give them. That's on you to figure that out. Anyway, this has been Mommy's Pocketbook. Thanks for tuning in. Referring to yesteryear's youth and young adults and what was popular to them. What was hitting on the streets? What was the vibe? What was the sound like? What were the artists? Who were you listening to? Tell me more about yourself. What's in Mommy's Pocketbook? Until the next time, I will see you guys later. Thank you for tuning in with me, Zombie.